Damn, I sure am sad. I'm just sitting around thinking about all the good times me and Michael Myers had together. Man. Then they came out with Halloween 3. And there was no Michael Myers in that movie. Got me down a little bit. But 1988 rolls along. The year I happened to be born. And Michael, he makes his return. Thank goodness. Because it's been really sad without him. Today, on Futchie's Horror Movies and More, I'm going to talk about Halloween 4. The return of the man, Michael Myers. This is as close to the original so far as they got. This movie was almost close to being perfect, close to being up there with the 78 classic, which is the few things that kind of threw it off and lowered it a little bit lower for me personally. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Halloween 4 stars Donald Pleasence, Ellie Cornell, and introducing the series' beloved 9-year-old little girl, Danielle Harris. Opening credit scenes in this movie, probably the best in the whole franchise. I mean, everybody always talks about it. Just going over that Midwestern farm town landscape, the little bit of creepy decorations they have. It doesn't even start with the Halloween theme to begin this movie. It just starts with this kind of like creepy, ominous vibe that you know some shit's about to happen, and it's building, and eventually it's going to spill over and it's about to go down. Michael in this movie, in the beginning of the movie, looks awesome when he has the bandage mask on with a little bit of blood coming through. If they'd have kept that through the whole thing, I think the creep factor would have been raised way up high, because he looks super creepy. You couldn't see his eyes, you couldn't see anything. It was just the bandages wrapped up, and he was in the gown, but then he switched the gown for his signature mechanic's jumpsuit. It even looked sweet when it was the mechanic's jumpsuit and the bandage mask. It looked pretty sweet, but you knew they couldn't go the movie without the iconic Myers mask. So he gets another one in this movie from a pharmacy little store, and you can tell because it's not anywhere close to what this one looks like. It's super white, there's no definition. People say he kind of looks like Michael Jackson in the one scene. It's just not a good mask. And another aspect of Myers in this one is they put him in shoulder pads to make him look more menacing, when in the first one he was only about a 5'9" guy. So he didn't need to be menacing. That wasn't who Michael was. He's not Jason, who's like 6'3" and bulking and traps and huge. He's just a normal guy, like me or you. Just a normal guy stalking people and killing babysitters. No hockey pad wearing motherfuckers. But it doesn't ruin the movie for you. It's just, if those things were changed, it would just be a step above for a lot of people. Of course, Michael escapes the custody of the transport unit conveniently around Halloween, because that's whenever you move somebody who kills people on Halloween, you move him around Halloween, obviously. He escapes. He puts the iconic kill in the ambulance as he puts his thumb through that doctor's forehead. Found out later in life, obviously, it was a retractable thumb that went in when he pushed it in. But nonetheless, that's a pretty sweet kill. You gotta have some power and strength to do that. Dr. Loomis in this one. He might be at the top of his game in this one because he's been through shit and he knows that Michael is no joke. And they gotta stop him again because if not, what's gonna happen? It's the same thing that happened 10 years ago in 1978. And you don't want that. A scene that I like a lot is whenever Michael and Loomis are at the gas station and Loomis sees him and he's talking to him and telling him, "Don't go back to Haddonfield. Leave those people in peace." And then he starts shooting and Michael's gone. Where the hell did he go? Loomis is looking right at him. Psh, gone. And then the smartness of Michael, even though he really wasn't trying it, blew up the gas station and burned the telephone lines to Haddonfield, conveniently. I mean, Michael can't plan this shit out any better. It's amazing. In Haddonfield, we meet the characters Rachel and Jamie, which that's Ellie Cornell and Danielle Harris respectively. Jamie is her step sister, but she doesn't feel that Rachel loves her as though they're really sisters. And Rachel, in the beginning of the movie, you kind of don't like her because she's all about herself, go and hang out with Brady, doesn't want to babysit tonight. It's a burden on her to even consider babysitting her. But as the movie progresses, Rachel's arc goes up and you're rooting for her and you really respect her as a character in this movie. Danielle Harris in this movie, she owns the role of Jamie. Without her, I don't think the movie would be as great. However, I disagree. People have a super duper love for Danielle Harris in the Jamie character. I guess I'm just not that attached to it. I mean, the movie, I really don't care. I'm not that invested in her. I really don't care. But she is really good, and she pulls off the part and everything really great. So I'm not gonna hate on her for that one bit. I guess I'm just not a fanboy as much as everybody else is for her. But whenever she's at the school and those kids are making fun of her dead mom and stuff, which is pretty fucked up. Her acting in that scene is freaking remarkable. For a 9-year-old girl to pull off the tears, get her composure back, calm herself down, that's pretty impressive for being that young. They go from there. That's whenever they go to the drugstore and Jamie she changes her mind about trick-or-treating. She didn't want to go. But then all her other kids at school are going and she wants to be like them, so she goes. And conveniently, she picks out a clown costume, just like little 6-year-old Michael Myers. And when she's looking in the mirror, it transforms into Michael Myers. So you're like, is this foreshadowing something down the road that she could become the killer? And I guess we'll figure that out as these movies go along. But that's when Michael gets his cheap whitey mask, and that's whenever the killing is gonna pick up, and he's gonna start to slash and dash. But enough. Another iconic scene, it's kind of like a cult iconic scene now, is when Wade is at the pharmacy and he goes to ask out Kelly Meeker, and he just walks over and he's just, "Fuck off, Wade. I know my boy from Drum Dums, Lee McCoy, he loves Wade, he loves that whole scene." So he even sells merchandise, so if you're interested, go over to his merch store and check it out. I'm sure you can get a bunch of shirts over there with that on it. But that scene always cracks me up. Which Kelly's really eyeballing Brady, who's Rachel's boyfriend, but they'll get together a little later in the movie. Dr. Loomis goes straight to the police station to warn them that Michael's coming, and of course they don't believe him, but eventually he persuades them, and they go on the look for Michael, and he explains that the 9-year-old niece is Michael's niece, and that he's going to come for her and try to kill her and the family. So they go and try to help them the best they can, but they went out trick-or-treating on Halloween night, so they're not even home. But they go back to the police station later on in the movie, and every cop there is dead. Michael's been there already and disposed of every cop. And they don't show the kills, they just show the messed up police station, the broken, like, deaths and blood everywhere. And then you're thinking, what the hell happened here? Like, what did he do to these people that they stood no chance in a police station with guns? And Michael just came in there and butchered all of them. That's the end result, but what the hell happened before that? That it looks like that? You just have to think it's what your mind wants to create in that scene, because they don't show you it. But this movie's atmosphere is so creepy. It's probably got one of the best Halloween atmospheres of any movie in this franchise. The theme is a little updated too, a little more upbeat, but it's still creepy. It's a really dark tone to this movie. The nighttime scenes are incredible. And another side note, supposedly one of Brady's friends and the Lindsay who picks up Rachel and Jamie earlier in the movie, that was supposed to be Lindsay Wallace and Tommy Doyle, but they never go into detail about it. So is it true? It might have been, but it wasn't said in the movie, so it's not true. It's not canon, so we do not consider them to be Tommy and Lindsay. But back to the story. Another cool scene is whenever Rachel is running away. She thinks she sees Myers in an alleyway. And she finds Jamie because she wanted away trick-or-treating. And then Michael Myers pops up one spot. Turn to the left, Michael Myers pops up over here. Turn over here, Michael Myers pops up over there. 3 Michael Myers? You're thinking, what the hell? Did he clone himself? Did he have a couple babies before and they grew up? But then you realize when the sheriff pulls the gun, just high school kids pulling pranks and shit, and they're safe. But when the car pulls away, when the exhaust fumes come up in the fog and whatnot, you see Michael standing there behind the car.
Come in, Pierce. Come in, Pierce.
It's pretty badass. Pretty much, they go back to the sheriff's, Ben Meeker's house, and that's pretty much where the last part of the movie falls. Barricading themselves in there to protect them from Michael. They don't want him getting in anyway. But before all this happened, Loomis, he got the townspeople to be vigilantes to kill Michael because there's no police force, and the sheriff is pissed. But like Loomis says, you don't have a police force. They have no choice to have these vigilantes going out and trying to kill Michael because there is nobody else. But in turn, they accidentally kill an innocent guy in the process. But most of them will pay the price for that later in the movie. Brady, by the way, was hooking up with Kelly Meeker, by the way, because he was getting double scoops. You know what I mean? They tease you with a little bit of a shot, but they don't show nothing. But Brady was getting the double scoops of Kelly. They all go hang out, like I said, at the Meeker house. And Michael snuck there in Deputy Logan's car somehow. He didn't see a grown-ass man sitting in the back seat laying down. But you tell me how that happens, I don't know. But he snuck in, and then he somehow gets into the house. He disposes of Deputy Logan. And then an iconic kill, he puts the shotgun through Kelly Meeker's body into the door. He hangs her there and steps back and looks at her. It's pretty sweet. It's an original kill because we haven't seen that yet, and it's definitely an iconic one for this movie. These are the only ones left because the sheriff and Loomis went out to try to hunt Michael and stop the vigilante, so that's all that was left. So now you're left with Rachel, Brady, and Jamie left. Brady, he redeems himself at this point. He cheated on Rachel, but he kind of redeemed himself because he tried to fight Michael for her so that they could escape. But we all know if you're going to fight Michael, you're probably going to die. And he gets a punch or two in until he gets his face mangled and you hear the bones in his neck just snap. And Brady is finished. Which leads to probably one of the most iconic scenes in the movie is the rooftop scene. When Jamie and Rachel are trying to escape Michael. Well, somehow they're struggling to walk on the roof, but Michael must have been a roofer when he was 6 years old because he's walking up there slowly, but he's walking up there without freaking falling over and worrying about falling off the roof. But she managed to save Jamie while Rachel falls off the roof. Then it's like a Jamie chase scene. Dr. Loomis comes along, somehow finds her, and they randomly go to the school because that's the first place I would think to go. So maybe get an education while you're there. So they go to the school, and somehow Michael Myers has magical powers, and he teleported to the school as well, which I don't know how he would have known they were there, but he shows up there anyway, and he got a goofy ass mask on because they forgot when they shot it. They didn't have the right mask, so they just threw that one on, and yeah, it got like blonde pink hair. Looks like if Michael Myers was a surfer dude, that's what he would be doing. But he has that mask on for that one tiny second, and then bam, goes back to the other mask. So they could have just shot like a shoulder shot of Michael, and then he'd show his head and show that freaking terrible mask. But then that leaves, he disposes of Loomis, and then that just leaves Jamie. And somehow Rachel knew they were at the school as well, because that's where you go, I guess, when you're in trouble. Sprayed him with the fire extinguisher and escapes again with the redneck townspeople. This is the part that gets me right here. Okay. As they're escaping, the state police go past and they stop and shine the flashlight on the truck and say, hey, you got a substation up the road a little bit. That's fine. And as they're driving a little bit, Michael somehow climbs up on the truck bed and kills, like he's in an action movie, stabbing and throwing people off the truck and shit. First off, where the hell was he hanging that nobody's seen him? Okay. Which ain't gonna happen. And how did the driver, Earl, not, what's going on in the truck bed back there? Turn around, dude. You see people getting thrown off your truck. So Michael busts through the window and rips his neck apart, which he had that coming from being stupid and not hearing people in the back getting thrown off a truck. And then that leads to him getting thrown off, the drive down the highway scene with Rachel and Jamie and Michael on top of the roof. Badass scene. Just hits the brakes, he flies off, hits Michael with the truck, and then Jamie goes over and touches his hand, and you're thinking, you didn't think anything of it then, but they're transferring something. They have some kind of connection that sets it up for the next movie. And you don't know that. But luckily, the cops knew exactly where they were, even though they were all heading to Haddonfield, and they all conveniently turn around, the cops and the townspeople, and then they shoot Michael into the grave that they believe he's in, and that's it. Go back to Jamie's house. They're going to give her a bath to wash away this terrible night. And you just hear the stepmother scream. And Dr. Loomis looks up the steps and sees that 9-year-old girl holding a pair of scissors. And he's just doing the famous, no, no, no. And he's about to... About to shoot this bitch. Could you imagine if he'd have shot that girl? Woo! People would have been pissed, but it would have been freaking sweet. And that's where it ends. You think that Michael passed his powers to Jamie and now she's going to be the new killer. And you're not sure. But that's the end of the movie. And you're left like, what the hell? What's going to happen next? So, takeaway is this movie's pretty close to the original. The mask is not the greatest. I don't really personally hate it that much, but it's not the greatest. The shoulder pads were stupid. The characters were super likable. I did like most of the characters in this one. Dr. Loomis was amazing. I would have to, out of 5, I'd probably give this one a 3 out of 5, to be honest. I'd definitely check it out. I would highly recommend it. If you love the first 2, you're going to love this one. We all know it's going to be coming next. We're talking probably Halloween 5. The Revenge of Michael Myers is probably going to be next. Not a fan favorite at all. But last piece, yesterday, July the 8th, we were informed that Halloween Kills will be delayed until October 15th, 2021. It's very devastating, we know. But that doesn't mean the fire's gone. That doesn't mean that we're not looking forward to it, because I'm looking forward to it more than ever. It hurt a little bit, it did. They put out that little 30-second teaser, got me a little fired up. Got to see Michael turn his head a little bit. Got to see Laurie screaming at the fire trucks. It wasn't much, but we'll take it. And you don't want this movie being any part of this shitty year 2020. I'll tell you that right now. So, it's just Halloween fans, just keep the fire up, keep the enthusiasm up, the excitement, because it's going to come out regardless. It just took a little longer. When it comes out, it's just going to be that much sweeter. So just keep looking forward to it, because it will come. And everybody out there, you have yourself a very scary day.